Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're doing well today. Well, I had an hour long video edited, ready to go, loaded in the chamber. In fact, I had it even premiering. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized there was more stuff that I wanted to show, there was more stuff that I wanted to add. And I really thought about it and decided that I wanted to change my tact a little bit. So I deleted that video and I'm going to do it again because I think this topic is too important to not get right the first time. So I have a couple videos that I want to show you from a couple very popular YouTubers, and there are some things that I want to show you on Twitter from some very prominent, well, you call them YouTubers, streamers, people like Tim Pool, and personalities from other mainstream, very popular content creators. So here's the situation: Mr. Beast has a friend named Chris, and Chris isn't just a friend of Mr. Beast, he's a co host. Now, Chris has recently come out and announced that they're a tranny. They have decided to take hormones and go through the process of becoming trans. Now, there's a reason why this is such a hot button issue. First of all, this isn't just something that started yesterday. I think that the progenitor of all this started with COVID because parents, for the first time in probably decades, were really learning and seeing in real time what their kids were being taught. And a lot of them were absolutely mortified by this. So, that I think is the start of all this. I think that the topic around transgenderism, the reason why it's so hot and the reason why it's so heated is because people are incensed that this has been injected, and you have people on the left saying, "Well, what's the big deal? This has been going on for years." So on one hand, you have people that have been doing this for a long time, and they're like, "You're just learning about this now." It's like we thought that you were on board with this. We thought that you affirmed this. It's ridiculous to us because we've been doing this for so long. And on the other side, it's sort of like just finding out that somebody had, kicked your dog. You're like, oh my god, let's deal with this. This is egregious. So, I think that really is the cultural conflict right now. Is a group of people that's been indoctrinating kids for years, and the people with the kids just finding out about this. I think that's a lot of the core of what we're dealing with here. So, here's my perspective on this. I think that transgenderism is a mental illness. I do not believe that affirming it is the best way to treat it because I do think that it should be treated. I think that transgenders should have access to every available medical opportunity. That doesn't mean going under surgery and having your penis removed and having your breasts removed and having anything else removed for a fortune, by the way. Putting yourself into a financial black hole, taking all these dangerous drugs, and going to what I think is the wrong type of therapy. I think that putting people in the right type of therapy, which is, talking to somebody who can help them accept who they are, maybe taking that step and having that be, the first line of defense, saying, hey, okay, we have professionals and we have medication that can maybe help ease this. I think that's the first thing to go to instead of just mutilation and all this other stuff. Because the truth is that I don't want trans people to be sterilized. I don't want them to, at a young age, make this irreversible decision. Now, Chris may be in a different position because he's had a kid, he's had a family. So perhaps, his job is done and he can make that decision, but he has a young kid. And that also changes this conversation because you have somebody like Chris who is extremely influential. He's in a position that most people are not in. I have a YouTube channel, but my YouTube channel is infinitesimally small. So if I were to do something, if I were to make a change, if I were to make a statement, it wouldn't make as much of an impact as somebody on Mr. Beast's channel who works for the company. It doesn't even have to be a regular talent. Somebody could just come on there wearing a t-shirt in the background, and they would have more influence than most content creators throughout history. So there's a lot to go over. There's a lot to unpack. I'm going to go over videos from Asmongold and The Quartering, because I think that both of them in their own ways have things that are interesting and worth talking about. But I think first and foremost, let me bring up this tweet. There's two of them actually. This tweet from Tim Pool. So Tim Pool resurrected this tweet from Chris, and I checked. This is the official Chris account. I sexually identify as an attack helicopter. So this was a YouTube video that this person put out. It's now since been deleted. But the point here is that people are now finding old posts from Chris from up to 7 years ago and saying, well, wait a minute. This is the person that's advocating this. They were completely flippant and disrespectful to, identity and all this other stuff. And they're pulling this up from the abyss. So let's see here. It appears that Chris deleted his tweet. See, because this was a tweet in response to Chris making a threat of violence to people online, and so I reacted and said, "Mr. Beast's frantic co-star actually making threats online, sir. For your own well-being, as well as for the sake of your friend's business and reputation, please disconnect from online and seek help." And that wasn't me being like, oh, I'm going to be sassy like some TikToker. No, I legitimately mean that. If anyone from Mr. Beast's circle ever watches this video, I think for the sake of your friend, the smart thing to do would be to get this person offline. The thing about being online is that you are going to constantly run into people who want to capitalize on the situation, who want to use the situation for political means. And I'm not just talking like Tim Pool resurrecting this. I'm talking there will be people who heap mindless adulation on Chris and try to affirm him to get them on their side. And what I equate it to is it's like feeding somebody a spoonful of sugar. It's like it tastes sweet, but it's really kind of gross. It's like no one wants to just eat a spoonful of sugar. But that's what they do. They just keep spooning you the sugar, and it's disgusting. And it turns to sludge in your mouth. There's no substance to it, and I think that the more we look, this person, Chris, is not well. So we have Quarter Black Garrett, who is on Steven Crowder. Great show, amazing, incredible. Physically threatening people for mean words. Very sane and well adjusted to reality. Yeah, so my advice would be to get Chris some help. And part of that would be getting away from the internet. Just for his own sake and well-being. Because this tweet says, I did also hate seeing the hate for me turn into general transphobia. So I'm trying to make it known. Make fun of me all you want, but mess with the trans homies and that's a gun. So this is a threat. Now, I know that Twitch streamers and other people who don't want to see it that way will try to justify it and say, no, it's a joke and he wasn't actually threatened. But no, that is a threat. That is a threat. But mess with the trans homies. This doesn't, and the irony of all this is that the trans homies just shot up a school of Christian children and killed a couple kids and some adults. Violence has been the ally of the trans activist, both online. What they did to Silverville was unbelievable. Uh, I don't know if any of you know who Silverville is, but she's a VTuber. And for the crime of playing Hogwarts Legacy and absolutely, literally nothing else, they went after her as though she were Donald Trump herself. It was hard to watch because it was this irrational, focused hatred that had nothing to do with this person. They just happened to be a victim of an online bullying campaign. So, yeah, we see this sentiment online, and it is everywhere. We can see it all over the place. It's something that I think is a major problem, and it does need to be addressed. But first and foremost, I think we're going to start with the quartering. I know that Asmongold's video is much, much longer. We're not going to go over the whole thing, otherwise I'd be here for like 3 hours. So first, let's start with the quartering and talk about uh, let's talk about what he has to say. I'll cover that, and then I have some things to say about Asmongold. His take on this I don't necessarily agree with, but there's a sentiment amongst streamers, especially more progressive streamers, that I really disagree with, and we'll go over that as well.
From the quartering, and the internet is going wild over essentially some criticism now that Mr. Beast is getting, some valid, some invalid, um, in terms of one of his on-screen personalities
I
coming
think that's
out
fair.
and saying, leaving his wife and son, and deciding to take a bunch of estrogen to look like to look more feminine.
Yep.
On the surface of this, it's literally none of anyone's business.
Correct.
The issue is these content creators make it our business by
Yep.
tweeting about it,
Yep.
by endorsing it.
Yep.
There's a huge crowd of people on the internet right now that are pretending that, oh, why does anybody care about what this Chris person's doing? It's ridiculous. It's none of your business. Yet they are promoting HRT to very young audiences.
Absolutely 100% correct. I usually don't completely and unanimously agree with the quartering or pretty much anyone else. But yeah, absolutely, this is the problem. You have a very influential person that is going through some terrible times, and they are promoting what is disaster, and they're promoting something that is going to harm young people in the long run, because you have somebody who's confused about their gender and they look to this guy, they look to Mr. Beast, or like, this is the most popular, successful channel on YouTube. These guys know what they're doing, they know what they're talking about. So little Jimmy is confused. So he looks at this person, Chris, and he looks at them saying, I wanted to present my best self, and I'm taking HRT, and I'm ignoring all of my familiar responsibilities. I'm ignoring everything. I'm ignoring my work. You see, most people are not in the position that this guy is in, that they can just ignore all that. That they can just do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want, with no consequences. And that's essentially what this is. This guy, Chris, decided that it's more important for me to do what I want to do rather than take care of my family. Because this isn't taking care of your family. And when you have kids, especially young kids, you have a responsibility to them. So I want you to imagine this for a moment. For those of you who are affirming this decision, I want you to try to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. I know that's hard for you people to do because you're not very empathetic. In fact, I would argue that people on the left generally are pretty psychopathic in the way that they cannot ever seem to put themselves in the shoes of other people and show even the most simple modicum of empathy. But I want you to imagine that you're a kid and you're young and your parents are going through a divorce. Okay? And so your world has already been shattered and you're embarrassed and it upends everything that you've ever done. You know, your entire ecosystem has been irreparably damaged. Then I want you to imagine that your dad suddenly decided that they were not your dad, they were a woman. They would present as a woman, they'd go out in public as a woman. That would absolutely rock your world. Now, people are saying that no, that wouldn't be that big of a deal. It wouldn't be that big of a deal. I could deal with it. You people can barely deal with getting whole milk in your non-fat latte. And you're going to tell me that you think that you would be well adjusted enough to deal with this series of absolutely groundbreaking, disastrous revelations? I would say most likely not. This is a huge deal. And so my advice is to prioritize your family and your responsibility over your feelings and over your selfish desires and impulses.
Referring to it as a life-saving decision that they made.
It's, yeah, no.
Really, the data does not support this.
True.
In any meaningful way. And Mr. Beast has the most subscribers on hundreds of millions of young children
Yep.
that follow them. I think that people are also being disingenuous by resurfacing old tweets from Chris. There's a lot to discuss here.
That's what I said. Yep. Yeah, there's literally no reason. And the only reason that I retweeted these is to have, and this one is different, but Tim going back 7 years to dredge this up, this is nothing. 7 years ago, it just, there's no point.
Here. But ultimately, a lot of people, a lot of parents are concerned. You know, a lot of parents have said that, hey, look, I'm not letting my kids watch Mr. Beast anymore.
Yep.
That's their decision. Mr. Beast has stood by his friend, which I 1,000% respect.
Yep.
But people acting like this isn't a major issue for the Mr. Beast brand are being completely dense, probably on purpose.
Yeah.
So on the surface, I think, no, whatever this adult wants to do with his body, their body, should be their decision. And I stand by that. I think.
So here's where I deviate from this. And when we watch Asmongold's video, he parrots this. I don't agree with that. And maybe it's because I come from an Italian family. But what my grandfather and even my grandmother always told me is that you have a responsibility to your family. This idea of just doing what you want because you feel a certain way, it's asinine. And honestly, you know, my grandma was an incredible person. But if I ever came to her and said, you know, Grammy, I have a kid, I have a wife, but I don't feel, I don't feel as a man anymore. And I feel like I want to leave her and transition and stuff. She would have grabbed the wooden spoon and just beat the shit out of me. She would have said, "What are you talking about? You have an obligation to your kids and your family." And, I know that sounds worse than it is, but no, she would have given me the best advice that anyone can ever give, which is, it's not about you. After you have kids, it's not about you. It's about your kids. It's about your family. It's about your legacy. It's about what you leave behind. And with a divorce, you want to give your kid the most normal life they possibly can. You want to give your kid the most normal life they can after a divorce, because the divorce is not your kid's fault. But they're going to believe it is. Oh, trust me. They're going to believe that it's their fault. Because kids do that. They internalize that. And then on top of that, you have your dad basically no longer being your dad, the person that was your dad is now gone. So you've lost your dad. And you can say, well, no, he's still there. No, he's changed. That's the whole thing of hormone treatment. You change completely. So, yeah, no, this poor kid has lost a two-parent household and they've lost a father. I mean, that is pretty drastic.
In my opinion, you're potentially robbing. A lot of people are saying that you're robbing your child of a father figure.
True.
I suppose that remains to be seen.
No, it's
That
pretty
said,
definitive.
the idea that this is somebody with a massive following, over 1 million followers, that is literally promoting taking these. It's never too late to start being yourself.
Yeah, that's egregious.
Or HRT, and it's only been 2 months. Like, look how happy I am by pumping estrogen into my body. And maybe it will save Chris's life. Maybe they've always been, a feeling like a woman trapped in a man's body. Okay. Chris's alt account, which has 270,000 people, a lot more serious, promoting these type of things, saying they're, life saving. Informed consent HRT saved mine and many other lives. This is not true.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a reason that Chris doesn't let people reply to this. The data is spotty at best, and you couldn't possibly know that it saved your life. This is the part of the issues. Now, I don't want to show his kid. That's not.
Yeah,
his kid has nothing to do
he's
with
inflammatory.
this. And people talking about his kid. Come on, guys, let's not do that. So that's the issue: is that you are now the poster person for pumping your body full of estrogen and making the claim that it saved your life.
Yeah.
Which even the best data is spotty on.
Mm-hmm.
This is my concern with it. You have hundreds of millions of impressionable young children who may be feeling lost. And now you've essentially said, hey, just take these estrogen pills and you'll feel great.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're pills. I don't know how that, but now it creates a complex situation where, this person, Chris Tyson, is certainly allowed to do what they want with their own body. And
Yep.
merely chronicling.
And we'll get into this when we get into Asman's video, because he makes a particularly ridiculous point of trying to compare this to like alcoholism, and saying, well, we don't want to jail alcoholics, and trying to just I mean, it's one of the most baffling and brain dead comparisons, like creating this specter that we want to, we don't want to jail alcoholics, like people want to jail people who are trans. No, we just want to make it socially unacceptable. We want it to be perfectly clear that no, transitioning and taking HRT did not save your life. That is not true. We want to make it very clear that this is not going to help most people. And it's true, it's not going to help most people. It may help this guy. I have no idea. But, yeah, like the Quartering said, the science on that is shoddy at best.
It is not exactly them pushing it on kids. And maybe, ultimately what's going to happen is in the Mr. Beast videos, if the content is the same as normal, and it's not like, if this like many terminally online people, especially in the LGBTQ community, it becomes their entire personality.
Yep.
Where, I don't have a comment to say about something without also talking about that I'm trans or bi or LGBT, whatever the case is. So if that comes into the content, it's obviously going to have an interesting reaction. Again, the people denying this that has any effect on the brand whatsoever are delusional. Mm-hmm. The video on his second channel where they live streamed, has 157,000 upvotes, which is very, very good. I probably don't have that many upvotes in my entire channel across all my videos. But it has 144,000 downvotes. 144,000 downvotes.
Whew.
And, it doesn't appear to be bots. People saying they're sponsoring Bud Light now. Obviously getting tons of support. And look, Mr. Beast, by the way, has done nothing but be a good friend to this guy or person. Okay, so I don't think Mr. Beast deserves any criticism, but and one thing that his channel has done, Mr. Beast's channel has done better than any channel probably in history, is avoid any kind of culture war nonsense or politically divisive content or major scandals. Sure,
see, this is the iceberg. Now, I know that a lot of people are going to deny this, like Asmongold denies this because I imagine that in Asmon's case, he is absolutely terrified of this issue because in his position, he has a lot to lose, especially being on Twitch, being in that sort of circle where you have to support the trans community, or, I mean, just people won't collab with you. You know, people will call you all sorts of names. It's like a very toxic environment. But yeah, this is not like some casual thing. When you bring this into your brand, it's like adding an anchor. Because, like the Quartering said, inevitably, people want to make this their entire life. They want to make it their entire identity. And for the most part, people don't care. They don't want to hear about it. It's like, you want to transition, fine, I don't agree with it, don't like what you're doing to your kid, but at the end of the day, I don't really give a shit, it's your thing. But then their content starts getting affected. And it starts changing the dynamic, and it starts creating rifts, and you can see it in real time in a lot of cases. So it's an issue. And so people will respond negatively, maybe because they don't really give a shit, but because they're seeing that their favorite content is being altered by the injection of this. And Mr. Beast was one of the content creators that seemed to avoid nearly every controversy. And the thing is that well, it's not like a controversy like, oh, I paid for 1,000 kids, eye treatment. Yeah, there was controversy around that, but it wasn't really controversy. It was just people complaining. But the thing is, you've now allowed this poison into your brand, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in the long term.
They have some old spicy tweets, in particular Chris, and they all used to you dropped a bundle of sticks words or. Okay, fine. I don't really care about old tweets. And I don't think bringing them forward now is worth canceling them. But I think the idea that this is not going to have a negative effect on Mr. Beast's business. And you know what? Mr. Beast seems like the kind of guy that'll just ride with him anyway. And I respect the heck out of that. You're talking about 3 or 4 young people here who all have more money than all of us combined. XQC says Chris could be a liability for Mr. Beast addressing the controversy on his stream. XQC responded to a comment suggesting that Mr. Beast would not care and would not cut him off as they have been friends for so long. And I would hope that's true, honestly. I hope that he would provide guidance to his friend and help him. Quote, he definitely does care. And if the hit is too big, he will definitely cut them off. And I wouldn't even be mad about that, XQC said. Why? Because the level of liability, you don't know how much it's going to be until it actually gets there. And saying things like, guys, this is a friend and I can't drop him. Bro, what if this becomes an absolute nightmare? Don't make mistakes that you can't get away from. XQC continued saying, making a comparison that if he had a friend on stream who was creating problems for him by being addicted to drugs, you can bet they're not coming on my stream again because he's threatening everything. Now, much of XQC's chat was critical of his take, one arguing that that's his brother, not a business partner. And I think that that's true. Um, and again, this is a tough situation, because there's going to be inherently a lot of backlash. And now, whether Mr. Beast likes it or not, he has to pick a side. And this is just the way things work. I'm not saying that I agree with it. I'm not saying that it's fair. It's just, it's your friend, right? I don't know if making the comparison to being like a drug addict is the same thing. It could be, I suppose. Um, but look, I think most of us have had friends that maybe make things difficult on us. This is going to be at the highest level, potential powder keg for Mr. Beast. The idea that you would think, now look, if he lost 50% of his viewership tomorrow, which he wouldn't, he's still one of the biggest forces in the world, and he does incredible work with philanthropy, and I will continue to defend the things that Mr. Beast does. I guess unless his next video is giving 1,000 people bottom surgeries or something like that. But I mean, the idea that you have all these old tweets, by the way, coming up. Yeah, I mean, fine. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, these are just edgy tweets." This was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't put a lot of weight on old tweets. I don't, because
True.
it's difficult to know the context of what was going on. But there are some very spicy tweets about Islam and about. I mean, these are, look at all the black people who have never had a steak. That's more than $10. I mean,
I didn't see that one.
That's from 2018. This isn't from when he was like a child. And there are a lot of other tweets you see. This one from 2017. A lot of edgy, tweets that would definitely get you canceled now. But now he has the ultimate. Now Chris has the ultimate shield. Never be canceled now. A lot of people putting this out. I don't know. I believe that if you're somebody's friend, then you stick with them, and I applaud Mr. Beast for that. But I do think there is absolutely zero chance this doesn't have a negative effect to his channel. And I think people out there gaslighting and saying, "Oh, everything's gonna be fine," blah 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 blah. Mr. Beast put himself in the middle of everything now when he said, "This is getting absurd. Chris isn't my nightmare. He's my effing friend, and things are fine. All this transphobia is starting to make me mad." Look, let's also say this too. I think it's fair to wait and see. They're fine. All this transphobia is starting to make me mad.
He's my friend. Oh, I know he's gonna catch hell for that one.
Look, let's also say this too. I think it's fair to wait and see. It's not like if the guy's going to be in Mr. Beast videos telling people to go, get their estrogen pills, that's a major issue, right? The fact that he built his following via Mr. Beast, the people that follow him are likely 15 years old. He's telling them that, taking these pills saved his life. I don't agree with that. I think that you have a certain level of responsibility as a content creator when you're putting that kind of stuff out there, especially when your audience is like kids. Yep. So it will remain to be seen. Hopefully just the videos just keep rolling like normal. But, it's stuff like this. It saved my life and the lives of many others. You don't know that. And this is the problem with a lot of these doctors that push this stuff. They're like, "Oh, would you like a dead son or a daughter or or something like that?" Like they always use this implication, like, "Well, if you don't put them on these pills, they're gonna end their life."
No, they won't.
I mean,
no. The only way that they would do that is if you left them alone and didn't get them proper help. But the thing is, it's not the difference between a dead son or a daughter. It's a choice between a dead son and a very confused son that has destroyed their future and joined a group of people with a suicide rate of 41%. So, no, it's not one or the other. And besides, they wouldn't be a daughter because you cannot transition to become a different gender, just like you can't transition to become a different race, and you can't transition to become a different age. You know, that whole joke about, oh, I'm like 40 going on like 21. Yeah, no, you're not actually. It's a joke. You can't change your age, you can't change your race, you can't change your sex or your gender.
The data does not really support that. But certainly, I don't think it's fair to be dunking on Mr. Beast and give him.
Fair?
It's his friend. What is he supposed to do?
Yep.
In fact, like if he fired him, first of all, he's in a no-win situation. He's not firing this guy. There's no way. And he's done nothing to be fired. To be honest with you,
Correct.
And
well,
Mr. Beast is right. If people are just hating on him for this particular thing, for being trans, I don't think that that's fair. I think that you look.
no, I don't think it's just for being trans. I think it's the promotion online. I think that the type of rhetoric that we see from Chris, the threats online, like, we mentioned this before. The threats online, the inflammatory nature of everything. I think it does play a pretty big part in all of this. So, yeah, I agree with the Quarterings video quite a bit. And so we're going to transition, no pun intended, to a video from Asmongold. Now, this one is a lot longer. We're not going to be going through the whole entire thing. But there's a lot in here that I want to go over. So, take it away, Asmon.
Are really upset about this video, apparently. I'm not really sure what... I mean, I guess, like, so... Basically, like, Mr. Beast has, like, this friend, Chris, and, like, Chris is transitioning to being a woman because they're transsexual or something, and people are like, I see so many fucking posts about this on my Twitter. It is crazy. It's like, there's, and what's so crazy to me about it is the fact that, like, there will be posts that'll be like, wow, I feel so bad for his kids. He's ruining his kid's life. He's going to regret this so much. This is horrible. And like, it'll have 50,000 likes, right? Or 80,000 likes. And then I'll see, a comment about how, like, everybody who says that is like a fucking loser that lives in their mom's basement. And, Chris is beautiful and, he's the best. And, I wish all the best for him. And that has 50,000, 80,000 likes. Like, it's very divided, very divisive topic.
True.
That people have.
True.
This Tyson situation could become a complete disaster for Mr. Beast's brand. However, it may also provide some unique benefits.
Okay.
So let's begin by going over the drama before explaining exactly how this will impact the Mr. Beast channel.
Sure.
In mid-2022, fans began to notice that Chris Tyson was changing. In the early days, he represented the quintessential southern gun and truck loving dude. Yet beginning in March 2022, Chris began to display increasingly feminine traits, making tweets such as,
I mean, I'm gonna be real, like, everybody paints their nails now.
No,
like,
they don't.
I'm pretty sure Tectone's a dude. You know?
Yeah. You're talking about a dude and you ping up Tectone? Let's look up. Let's just look up Tectone. Yactone? Tectone. I mean, come on. Come on. I spelled it wrong. It's Tectone. Like Tecto. Okay. Oh, okay. 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 All right. So, Asmon, if you're looking for an example of a man, look, Twitch streamers are fucking weird. I'm just gonna say it. They're their own gender, they're their own religion, they're their own race, they're their own, creepy, weird, far left, amorphous goblin people. But Tectone. When he said that, I couldn't fucking believe it. I was like, oh my god, Tectone. Yeah, if I were to pick somebody who would represent being a man, it would not be Tectone.
And he paints his nails.
You know what? I'm not surprised to hear that.
The only time I ever got my nails painted was there was one time we were at the fair and there was a hot girl from my school that was there and she wanted to paint my nails and I let her do it. And then
God. What a fucking simp. What a fucking simp, Asmon. What a simp. I understand it. You know, you're a young kid and there's a hot girl and she's like, let me paint your nails. But guys, you gotta learn to have your preferences and boundaries set. If a girl comes up to you and says, I want to paint your nails, you say, look, bitch. No, I'm just kidding. Don't pull out your inner Asmon Tate so early. Asmon Tate. Asmon Tate. Woo. Yeah, no, just, have boundaries. Have preferences and standards and be willing to stand by them. Ironically enough, women find that more attractive than just being able to do whatever they want. Paint your nails, dye your hair. I know that a lot of people think that, just immediate submission to women, no, that's the way to get a girl. No, girls like guys that have boundaries and don't come across as desperate. So, just a bit of advice. You don't be rude, but you say, no, I don't paint my nails. It's not my thing. Having standards and boundaries and preferences and letting those be known is, I think, very important.
And my dad found out and he saw my nails. He's like, what's up with that? And I explained the situation to him and he said, okay, that's good. He's like, good call. That's the only time I've ever done it.
I finally got my nails done at a nail tech. Additionally, Chris would highlight that his facial appearance had changed significantly since the start of the pandemic, which accompanied another post reading, okay, so in 4 different customs I had to prove I was myself because I, quote, look nothing like my passport pic, so much that I'm considering updating my passport. Do you see any resemblance? Prompting replies such as, for example, on the 6th of January, Chris had to have lost a bet. The look is getting wild.
Carl, mate.
2022, Chris would post a photo with his wife to his Instagram, yet after this, the family photo stopped altogether. Fans also noticed that he'd removed his wedding ring, with the ring's absence correlating perfectly with the very first post in which he'd painted his nails. Chris confirmed the split in a post from March 2023 reading, for a little over a year now, me and Katie have been separated, with this also confirming that Chris's transformation began as soon as his marriage came to an end. Chris went from lighting campfires and raising a family with his beautiful wife to now trying to be a wife with his man buns and long hair.
What a fucking legend. God damn. That campfire isn't the only thing that's roasting. Whew.
God, I don't know about that last part. That's oh man. Oh man.
God
damn.
damn.
That's a bit
What a
too
fucking
close.
legend.
I don't know about that. That is. Yeah, I mean that's not it.
God, you know it's good when you've got progressive Asmongold triggered. God, that is a fire line.
I will say that, like, I mean, whenever somebody gets divorced, I think that it's not out of the question, but I don't think that it's necessarily true that it's like the reason why Chris got divorced is so he could transition because his wife wasn't okay with it. Like, I bet that probably wasn't the only issue, and
True.
I don't know. I think that also, like, I've known people that have gotten divorced and it's like completely reoriented their life.
True.
A uncertainty of it.
Nails. As the criticism continued to pile, Chris announced that he'd be taking a break from social media. And while
I would suggest he continue to do that. Social media is not the place for you when you're in the position that Chris is in currently. Right? It just isn't. Like, doing videos on Mr. Beast's channel, fine, but don't check the comments. Don't go on social media. That would be my advice.
While there was a possibility that Chris would make efforts to return to his former self, he'd rather do the opposite and double down on his feminine image, showing up to
No, I don't know about doubling down on the feminine image. Like, I feel like the term doubling down is like, it's like people always say like doubling down whenever it's like a bad opinion or like a very strong opinion or something
Or a sandwich at KFC.
like that. But like, I don't know. I think that, you know, this is just might be what he's like more comfortable acting like or being like. I don't know if it's really that complicated.
the Kids' Choice Awards looking like this, before making the announcement that he'd been doing HRT for approximately 2 months, which according to a quick Google search is the medical process for changing genders.
Yeah.
Chris would expand on this by stating, "Informed consent HRT saved my and many others' lives."
Yeah, we talked about this in the Quarterings video. Yeah, that is absolute bullshit. I mean, this person has no way of acknowledging that or you know, confirming that. And it's a dangerous statement because not only is it bullshit, but other people are going to read that and they're going to think, well, you know, maybe I need HRT to save my life. It is absolutely asinine that he would say that.
The hurdles GNC people have to jump through to get life-saving, gender-affirming healthcare in a first-world country is what...
And I can almost guarantee you, I haven't made it past this point, but I can almost guarantee you that Asmongold is going to take the position that, no, yeah, you know, it should be easier to get a gender-affirming care. It's ridiculous that, you know, this is true. It's true. And because it's pretty much what he has to say. And here's my thing. I think Asmon puts out some great content. I think he's highly entertaining. But I think he's a slave to the system at Twitch and the system that he exists in. He is a progressive because he has to be a progressive. It may not be what he wants to do, but he knows that if he were to be as honest as I am about transgenders and transgenderism and all that other stuff, he'd get canceled. And I understand, and I have empathy for that. I wouldn't want him to destroy his entire career just to say something that, you know, agrees with me. I can say this stuff because I have a smaller channel and there's no real risk for me. I mean, I'm building up a platform on Rumble and stuff, but the fact of the matter is that Asmon is in a position where he has a lot to lose. So if he comes out and, you know, basically disagrees with this, people are going to come after him. And Asmon may say that he's, you know, bulletproof, and he may say, well, you know, I have this and this and this to defend me, you know. But the truth is that the people around him, I think that, honestly, the people around him would abandon him at a moment's notice if it were inopportune. So, like, if he came out and said something about transgenders, I imagine that they'd probably throw him under the bus. And the truth is that the people around him, like Emaru, for example, she's going to be fine regardless. Like, if Asmon were to say something and get canceled for whatever reason, I mean, she has a bright career doing pretty much anything she wanted. And because she has such a huge platform and because she's attractive, the worst case scenario, she could start an OnlyFans and get millions and millions of millions and millions of dollars a month. So, yeah, it just, my point here is that Asmon is thinking about himself here when he inevitably, and this is a prediction, takes a statement like this and tries to affirm it and tries to give it more credibility than it's deserved. Somebody like The Quartering came out and basically shit all over this, and I think that he's absolutely right to.
Wild to me. Just let people
I could be wrong though, by the way. Asmon could go the opposite direction, and the whole diatribe could have been absolutely worthless. So let's see.
make informed decisions about their own bodies, which
This is, by the way, I want to make sure that you guys understand this. This is not something that's unique to, it's not unique to like HRT. So, like, for example, like, this is a very recent example, is like they're trying to take my dad off of one of his pain medications because the DEA wants to regulate it differently. Even though the doctor wants to give him the medication, and all of the doctors that he sees and the people that think that he should have this medication, well, the DEA, because they made a classification on the drug, now he can't get the drug. And, like, he used to take fucking hydrocodone and morphine, and they took him off of that like 10 years ago, and he had to go through like withdrawals and like fucking everything going off of like morphine and hydrocodone that he was taking for like chronic fucking pain, because he only has like, I think he has one vertebrae on his back that works. That's about it. So it's bullshit. It's complete bullshit. So I know there might be some people who are, you know, they're not fans of trans people, etc. But I hope that you can look past that and realize that what Chris is saying is very true, and it's a huge issue.
I'm not Nostradamus, but I told you, I fucking called it.
And the HRT is just it's the tip of the iceberg.
No, it's pretty substantial. And to say that it saved his life is absolute bullshit. It's not true. It's not true. It's just bullshit. And he's spreading this garbage to other young, impressionable kids that may actually believe this. So it is pretty dangerous and irresponsible to say.
Received a positive response from both Carl and Mr. Beast, who wrote, "Got you, I did one more heart than Carl because I'm a better friend." While his co-workers expressed positivity, others weren't so welcoming.
Yeah,
there
sure.
goes a father figure the kid won't ever be able to look up to. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Weak man times. Chris responded to
Yeah, this is a
this comment by stating, "This is just more dog whistling that somehow trans and GNC folks aren't safe around kids. Tucker begs for me to come back when I leave for like 2 days to film. He is so loved and happy. Kids aren't born with hate, it's taught by people like you, and my child will only know love. I know
I mean, to be fair, I'm sure the kid's going to get made fun of a lot in school because of it.
True.
It sucks, but I don't think that means that Chris shouldn't do what's best for him. You know, he should definitely do that. At the end of the day, you know, like, he's doing the best he can for his kid, but he's also got to live his own life and do what he has to do and be who he has to be, right? I think that's fair. Truth is that, yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, like, the hard times create, you know, fucking strong men. Like, yeah, I think there's, like, some truth to that, but I don't really think this is necessarily an example of it, especially with, like, if you contextualize Chris coming out about transitioning. Chris never even said anything about it until it went super viral on Twitter.
No. Asman, you've been watching up to this point. You've seen that this person has constantly, up until the point publicly, has been constantly showing pictures of themselves, you know, putting things out there like, you know, like this right here. You know, it's like, okay, so the idea that no, they were silent on this. No, they've been promoting this for a long time. Let's at least be honest, Asman. Let's at least be honest. No, this has been going on for a long time. This person has been publicly putting this out there. They've been advocating for this. So I think that's a little bit disingenuous to say that.
Chris never even said anything about it until it went super viral on Twitter. It's not like he really made a big announcement about this, because before that he was like, hey, I'm just changing who I am, etc. And I think that's kind of that's the best way to do it. Because I think that the way to treat people like that is to just treat them the same. Like, I don't know, like, I'm sure it's awkward and weird for, like, you know, Mr. Beast and all of them, like, to have a friend that's going through something like that. I'm sure it's confusing. It's very complicated. It's the same as, like, you've probably had friends that have gone through, like, really big like personal changes like that, it's probably really hard to deal with. Sure, and I think that this is probably the same thing. Again, it's not, doesn't mean that Chris is wrong. It's just that that's what happens. And yeah, PTSD. Yeah, PTSD is a good example of that. And overall, like, I don't really think it's that big of a surprise that you know, it could make people uncomfortable, or people might have a hard time adapting to it or whatever.
Bro.
But I mean, you got to remember, like, yeah, they work together, everything like that, but he's their friend. And so they're probably going to try to support their friend.
Good. Yeah.
That's what really matters. Chat's imploding in a civil war. Well, there's a lot of people, you have to keep in mind that there's a lot of people that are in like Western culture have like such a Western centric mindset for this that I don't think they realize that in many places in the world, I don't know about most places, I'm not sure, but in many places in the world, you're not able to be trans. Like most places in the world, as far as I know, I don't think have a positive view of trans people. So you shouldn't be surprised whenever there's people in chat that, and this, I mean, this is a global chat. Any English speaker can come into this chat and talk. So if somebody from a country that it's against the law to be gay comes in here, they see this, well, of course there's going to be a culture shock. So yeah, that's how it is. Like Russia, I don't know how they do in China. It's divisive in America too. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that we're on a global platform here, and there's going to be people who disagree with it. And like I think it's silly. I've always been very outspoken about letting people do whatever they want to do, because I think that's the only way that you can. Like, how can you truly live if you can't be who you are?
Let me just stop for a moment. The only reason that Asmon can say this, and I think this is dangerous, disastrous feedback and a worldview. The only reason that Asmon can say that is because he doesn't have a wife, he doesn't have kids, he has a company, and he's got, you know, people within that company, but really, when it comes down to it, he doesn't have that many responsibilities. He's somebody who can wake up at whatever time he wants, go eat whatever he wants, play video games all day, stream in front of people, and that's basically it. He has the freedom to do all that. Most people don't. I don't. I don't have the freedom to act that way. I have responsibilities to my family. I have responsibilities to my business, sure, and to my employees, and to the people that I deal with. I couldn't just live the way that I wanted to. Because if I lived the way I wanted to, I wouldn't get anything done. I'd be like, oh, well, you know what? Today's a good day to go to the firing range, or, you know, hey, let's go hunting. You know, let's go do something. You know, I'd be out there all day shooting my gun. I go through, you know, like 1,000 rounds of ammo, but I wouldn't get anything done. And that's the thing here. No, you can't just be who you want. No, you can't just do whatever you want. You have responsibilities. And if you're a man, you take on those responsibilities. You deal with them head on. And you understand that, no, you can't just be whoever you want to be. That is a luxury from a position of privilege that Asmon holds because of the money that he has. Because of the fact that he has oriented his life, that he doesn't have any kids, he doesn't have any responsibilities, he doesn't have any entanglements. He is free to live that way. But to sell that to young people is fucking disastrous. And there's a reason why Andrew Tate is so popular. I know that Asmongold despises Andrew Tate. But the reason why Andrew Tate is so popular is because Andrew Tate is saying the counter to what Asmon is saying. Asmon is saying, if you want to eat a bunch of food and get fat and play video games all day and be a fucking loser, be a virgin forever, not really accomplish anything, You should be able to do that. Andrew Tate comes along and says, well, yeah, you can do that, but we should shame you for that because that's fucking pathetic. You have an obligation to your family, to yourself, to your ancestors that have come before you, that have sacrificed to get you here. You have an obligation to do the very best that you can, to put your best foot forward. You have an obligation to fulfill your destiny for the betterment of your family. Which is another reason why I don't support transgenders, because when you talk about like surgery and all this stuff, it's expensive. You could be putting that money towards helping your family. And if you're at a point where you're that broken, where you're like, okay, well, you know what, I'm going to Minecraft myself. A good way to get out of that is by starting to work towards a goal and being relentless in that goal. You say, okay, you know, maybe I will end my life. But you know what, before that, I'm going to leave my family with $100,000 or $1 million. So you work towards that goal. You say, I'm not going to do anything until I reach that goal. And you do everything you can to reach that goal. You say, I'm going to give them $100,000. And you start working towards it. And you know what? At a certain point, I bet you hit that point, and I bet you keep going. I bet you find the fulfillment that you're so desperately looking for. That's my point here. That what Asmon is offering is good on paper. Sounds great. You know what? I have too much responsibility. You know what? Fuck my family. Fuck my business. You know, fuck all that. Fuck making videos. Fuck my audience. I'm just going to go. You know what? It's a Saturday. You know, right now it's 8 in the morning. I got up at about 6 o'clock. You know what? I could just sleep all day. I could go up and play video games, eat junk food, you know, eat garbage. Oh, yeah, you know what? I could do all that. But that mentality is weakness. And I think it's important to bring that up because what people like Asmon advocate is not what normal people can actually do or live with. He is in a position of privilege because of the money that he has. Not everyone can do what Asmon does. In fact, I think he's 1 in a million.
Even if you disagree with what a person's doing with their life, it's still their life to do it with. Like you can express discontent or disagree with it or whatever.
I will.
And you know, whenever you're hurting other people, right? Oh, I want to be a drunk driver. Well,
yeah, you could argue
it's
this is
too bad.
hurting other people.
But you know, for things that aren't really like he's not killing anybody, he's not hurting anybody, but
he is a very influential content creator that is promoting bullshit, promoting pseudoscience nonsense, promoting a huge lie that you can be the gender to which you delusionally think you can be. And when other people realize that that's not true, that this guy is full of shit, that, you know, all the HRT in the world, all the surgeries in the world going into the red as much as, you know, as much as they do, that by the end of it, that no, they still are not the gender to which they thought that they were going to be able to, because people like Asmon and people like Chris and people like Mr. Beast all tried to affirm them, all tried to feed their delusion instead of getting them the help that they want. Yeah, most likely they're going to end their life because they've sterilized themselves, they've given up a fucking fortune, and we're at a point now where you're not the gender to which you want. So you have nothing. You have given everything up that you could possibly have, and so you're left with nothing. But somebody like Asmon's like, well, you can't really judge a person. You can only let them do. No, I will absolutely stand here with 2 feet planted in the ground with my chest out and say, no, Asmon, you're wrong. That mentality is wrong. I am against transgenderism because it is an evil, insidious ideology that I regard as being akin to lobotomies decades and decades and decades and decades and decades ago. Asmon, do you remember? Maybe I should pull this up. Let me. Oh boy. Whew. Lobotomy bans. lobotomy bans. Lobotomy mobile. Lobotomy mobile. Let's see. I remember seeing something on this. What was the Dr. Walter Freeman? Wanting to simplify lobotomy so that it could be carried out by a psychiatrist. Whew. Of the ice pick transorbital approach. Yeah, so basically there were these vans that would go around when lobotomy. The last recorded lobotomy in the United States was performed by Dr. Walter Freeman in 1967. Oh, that's a... And ended in the death of a person on whom it was performed. Yeah, so the lobotomy mobiles were these vans that would go around and give out lobotomies. And it was absolutely horrific. Anyway, I'm not going to get too much into that, but my point is that scientifically, there have been things that people deemed were cool or trendy or neat or interesting. And it turns out that, no, they were absolutely horrific.
By taking HRT, he's just doing it to himself. Now, I think that people should have the right to, do what they want to their own bodies.
You do not have the right to advocate dangerous and delusional things that could potentially hurt kids if you have a major platform.
So long as they're not hurting other people.
Well.
His family? Well, I think that's his family's decision. His family should be deciding whether they're okay with that, and not the government or not a society of people that does.
Yeah, that's fair. When you were 8 years old, Asmund, you could definitely understand and really grasp all the nuances and complications of your parents divorcing and then your dad deciding that they were a chick. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, that's totally normal. Having a very, very, very young kid, they should be able to grasp all of the different intricacies. You're right. Or maybe, Asmund, you're full of fucking shit. You're absolutely talking out your ass. You don't have kids, so I don't expect you to understand this. But at a certain point, you are responsible for your kid. Up until the age of 18. And there's a reason for that. Because your kid can't consent. Because they don't understand. They don't get it. If you try to explain to this kid, hey, your parents are getting divorced and one of your parents is becoming the opposite gender, they have no idea what the ramifications of that are going to be. They can't even begin. Oh, well, the family has to. No. You as an adult should make a decision that for the good of your family, you're going to forgo this for years until that kid is 18 or at least old enough to be able to make a decision on their own to be able to understand.
Doesn't know him. I don't think that's really fair. Because, he's spraying this bullshit to children watching Mr. Beast's video.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can make that argument with a lot of stuff. For example, I'm sure that people said the same thing with Mr. Beast blinding people, or not, curing people of blindness, and giving people money, etc.
You see how fucking nervous this guy is? I want you to compare my demeanor with his. He's fumbling over words. He's making these just erroneous comparisons. He's nervous because he knows perfectly well the echo chamber that he's in, which is Twitch. He knows that the people within Twitch, they are fully on board with this transgender bullshit. He knows perfectly well that if he says the wrong thing, they're going to come after him. So he's tiptoeing. He's very, very, very careful. It's it's pathetic. Be honest. You know perfectly well that what you're saying is absolute horseshit. It's nonsense. You're comparing it to something else that has nothing to do with it. You're trying to make, well, it equates to this. Well, if this, then this. No. No, you're trying to say 1 + 1 = 11. Because if you add 1 and 1 together, technically, no, it's 2.
Yeah, I think that people say the same thing, and there's an element of truth to that, sure, but also like people choose to watch Mr. Beast's videos. Like all the kids that are watching his videos are choosing to watch his videos. And I mean, let me to hear people say that because like you guys know, I volunteered to like work with like like Planned Parenthood and like other like Greenpeace, like other political organizations at that time, like the.
I'm not surprised. Do you know who Margaret Sanger is? Hasman. Google it sometime.
By Wall Street type stuff, right to hurt themselves.
Oh.
Any sort of political opinion, people think that I am extremely like super progressive or super conservative or something.
Anyone who calls you conservative is out of their fucking gourd. You are not. You are extremely progressive in an echo chamber of progressives. The people that you associate with, the people that surround you, the other content creators looking to take your place, they're all progressive. And so you're pandering. I recently saw a couple content creators from Twitch, like Nux Taku, Quite, and a lot of these other people commenting on this, and their opinion was exactly what you would believe. It was the opinion of the Brain Dead Affirmation group, where, yeah, you're so stunning and brave, Chris. These haters, it's like the most brain dead, monotonous garbage. It is predictable. That's the type of people that exist in Asmongold's echo chamber, and they're all going to believe the same thing. Now, Asmon, I think, is smarter than all of them. I think he doesn't believe a single word of this. I think he's way too smart for that, but I think he can't say it because he knows what would happen. So he's doing this bullshit. Me, personally, I'm not doing that. I'm not about that. I'm not going to lie to people and pretend that this, shit smoothie is a milkshake. It's not. It's rancid and it's absolutely disgusting.
Like that. This is my general opinion.
Oh boy.
People should be able to do what they want to do so long as they're not hurting other people.
Nope.
I think also people
Bullshit.
in general have the right to hurt themselves.
Oh boy. Wow.
If you want to do something that's
What a fucking
unhealthy
coward.
for yourself, I think that's fine.
What a coward. What an irresponsible coward. I mean, unbelievable. Yeah, you should be able to do what you want to do up to hurting yourself. Asmon, God, what a fucking coward and a disappointment you are. That is just such garbage. Oh, you do whatever you want. No. No, you have an obligation to yourself, to your community, to your business, to your family. This do whatever you want is a very lazy, very slothish, very egotistical and narcissistic Western worldview. You have an obligation to your ancestors, to your parents, to your family. You can't just do whatever you want. And I find it to be egregious and offensive that you're promoting this to people as though this is the way to live. It's great if that works for you, Asmon, but most people can't do that, and most people shouldn't do that. You are trying to affirm the worst characteristics in people rather than trying to help them get past that. Yeah, do whatever you want. Be a fat fucking loser. Be a virgin forever. I mean, that is the worst advice that anyone can give. That is dangerously stupid and weak and pathetic. And you should do better, Asmund. Hashtag do better.
I don't want to go around, and the reason why is that everybody can say, whoa, well, you know, what about this? What about that? I don't want to spend my money, my
God.
tax money, on enforcing this.
Okay, well then you compounded your weak and pathetic statement with something even more weak and pathetic. The reason that you don't want to do this, or the reason that you're saying you don't want to do this, is because it's my money and I need it now. No, it does not. God, this fucking guy. Doing the right thing and advocating for the right thing is more important than, oh, I don't want to spend this money. Oh, what an asinine response.
I don't want to enforce. I don't. It's a fucking waste of my money. Stop it.
Save some positivity such as, I'm convinced you're an amazing father. Tucker is lucky to have you and also lucky to have all of those who surround and support you in his life, as well as I adore that, I'm glad you made that decision.
I don't know. I mean, I don't, like, why everybody, like, I love how everybody is so confident and so certain about how this is going to affect this kid. How the fuck do you know? Like, this kid's life is probably totally fucking different than an average kid already because his dad is like this famous person on the internet. Like, this is a unique circumstance to begin with.
Took a father figure away from your son just so you could paint your nails and act zesty.
Goddamn.
Pathetic. He will get torn apart if
You're really brutal. Well, kids are gonna.
you come out of this safe. In that tweet, how's this for him when you're depriving him of a father figure? Although Chris wasn't altered by these comments, as he'd once again reiterate his certainty in a new post reading, "It's never too late to start being yourself," which received praise from Mr. Beast as well as Nolan and Carl. However, these comments also
YouTube
added
affirms
extra
that
fuel to the
bullshit.
fire. In a few years, look back at this thread and remember they were never your friends. Only yes men cowards. Hope you come out of this safe. Mr. Beast responded to
What a
this with a
legend.
simple opinion irrelevant ratio, to which the original commenter would state, I have 30 followers, so go ahead and ratio me. I'll still rest easy knowing that I'm not a coward who idly sits by watching my friend ruin his own life.
God damn. Whew. God damn. Yeah. Oh man. That was absolutely fucking fire.
Irrelevant ratio, to which the original commenter
God damn. This guy is a fucking legend. Holy shit. That was incredible. God damn. Whew.
would state, I have 30 followers, so go ahead and ratio me. I'll still rest easy knowing that I'm not a coward who idly sits by watching my friend ruin his own life. In some
I think that it's a very complex issue whenever you have and like also like they probably, the thing is like he probably could have just talked to the, you know, Mr. Beast probably talked to Chris about it.
God
But about
damn.
them, it's how they act. It's a two-way street, and he has the right to do that because he's an individual. And if you can't be who you want to be, then why are you?
I'm starting to believe that Asmund made this video just to fucking trigger me. This mindset I find to be disgusting. Genuinely disgusting. I find it to be this hedonistic, just amorphous, degenerate, disgusting, loathsome, irresponsible attitude. And I think this is the decay of the West. If you can't be what you want to be, then why are you? Well, because there are more important things like responsibilities. There are more important things like your family. I've explained this before. Asmund's worldview on this is so disgusting and despicable to me. And I grew up watching people from my family who made huge sacrifices. Like, I'll give you an example. My grandfather and my grandmother and my uncle immigrated to America from Africa. And they didn't have to. This was after World War II. They could have gone back to Italy and gone back to the small, place that they came from, but instead, they moved to America. My grandfather could have said, you know what, I don't really feel like building a new life. You know what, I'll go back to Italy, we'll go back to our small town. He would have been just fine. They would have been just fine. They would have lived in the small town, and they wouldn't have made very much money, but they would have been perfectly fine. Instead, my grandpa decides to take his entire family to America because he felt that he had a responsibility to provide a better life for them. So he sacrificed pretty much everything. He paid all the money he had to get us here. Well, I say us, but I wasn't born yet. In fact, my father wasn't even born. But he came over here, and his work ethic was such that he managed to find a niche for himself. He managed to provide, for most people, an incredible life. And give my father and my uncle the opportunity to create what I have been able to have today. And if he had just done whatever he wanted to do, if he had just sat around and played video games and gone back to Italy and just given up and I don't really feel like doing this. I want to live my best self over here. If he had done that, I wouldn't be here. So, Asmongold is promoting a worldview that I truly, genuinely detest. And I think is absolutely dangerous and irresponsible.
What's the point?
Family responsibility, standards. I can't do what I want. What's the point of living? Fuck you, Asmon. Jesus Christ. You have been such a disappointment in this video. I can't even begin to articulate it.
Are we good? Is like, whenever things look really bad for somebody, it's not a big deal. Sold by some Twitter weirdos, but what the fuck does that do? I think people have like such a distorted view on things that you think that a few viral tweets that are bad about you are going to end your career. Like, I don't get mad crazy shit that happens now. People disagree with the same thing, this or stream action them, action through a camera. You see what I'm saying?
Felt as though there was an unaddressed elephant in the room, and therefore everybody was in their head, as opposed to being in the present moment enjoying each other's company. Maybe everybody was simply too busy opening packages, but Chris did make these bizarre jokes about Jimmy being female, making him incredibly uncomfortable.
Oh my god, Jimmy, look, they drew you. Jimmy, they drew you so well. It looks just like you.
Oh, yes.
Oh my god, it's Jimmy.
Fan art. This is what we were looking for.
Yeah, I think it's probably it's probably really hard for them. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
The level of selfishness from people like this, it's unbelievable. So everyone is making sacrifices. Everyone is trying to change for this one fucking person who is behaving in such an obnoxious and completely socially ignorant way. It blows my mind. Everyone is bending over backwards to defend this person, but they're making these jokes and they're making everyone uncomfortable, and they don't fucking care.
That. Yeah, it's probably pretty hard. Because, obviously the people.
Come on.
Why would people care so much about this? But will it hurt Mr. Beast brand? Well, let me finish the video. I'll talk about it more.
For another 100 million views worth of drama and criticism. Chris likely believes that people will slowly adapt to his new appearance over time, but is this really going to happen?
Yeah. Of course, bro.
4 different customs, I had to prove I was myself because I, quote, look nothing like my passport pic, so much that I'm considering updating my passport. Do you see any resemblance? Prompting replies such as, you went from man to boy. Chris responded by
Shout out to Josiah Rises.
Of course, bro. Of course, from this guy, like you see, he's got the plaid shirt on. Bro, you know that beard is down to here. Like, he's got the trucker hat. You're goddamn right, brother. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So again, this demonstrates the absolute ignorance of Asmongold, because if you look up Josiah Rises, he is a very, 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 very popular YouTube channel. So let's pull up a video.
Queen Bree actually did it, and I can only imagine the panic that is going on over at Marvel and Disney right now because of this news. But of course, it's hilarious because all of the mainstream media outlets, all of the Bree bots that are out there are having complete and total meltdowns today because of this news. The Marvels is the MCU's most...
So let me ask you a question. Does that guy with his high energy, very articulate way of speaking, does it sound like this?
Yeah. This dude plays classic, guaranteed. Plaid shirt on. Bro, you know that beard is down to here. Like, he's got the trucker hat. You're goddamn right, brother. Uh-huh.
Is that... So this is another thing from Asmongold, and streamers in general. They have a very low opinion of people that they visibly may think disagree with them, but Asmon's not going to take the time to actually go and learn about this person. Josiah Rises has a huge YouTube channel. He's got a huge following. Obviously a very passionate fan base who, will actively thumbs up his video. I mean, that's a pretty impressive ratio. It's way better than Asmongold's video. That's for goddamn sure. I mean, 10% of the people didn't like this video, Asmon. And I think rightfully so. But he's making fun of Josiah, doesn't know who he is, doesn't take the time to do the research to see any of that. And so, yeah, you take a look at this guy, you listen to him speak. It took me, I knew who he was, but it took me like 10 seconds to find this video. Like, to look this guy up and see who he is. And, to listen to him, to realize that, condescending and treating him like he's some kind of dumb hick. It's just pathetic. Anyway, that's what I'll end on. And Asmon really, this video is such an insight into the weakness and just the pathetic mindset of people like Asmon. I understand why they hate Andrew Tate. I totally get it, because he is everything that their worldview is not. He's saying, no, it's not okay to just do whatever you want. You have an obligation to your ancestors, to your family. You have responsibilities. And Asmon's like, no, I don't have any responsibilities. I can be 40 years old and not have a family, not have kids, be alone. I can wake up every day and eat junk food and go to garbage tier fast food, and I can, play video games all day, and, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that, brother. It's like, it's pathetic behavior. It's really weak. This video has gone on for an hour and a half. Holy criminy. So let me just end it with this. My Rumble, we're up to 23. Every step of the way, we are inching our way closer to 30 followers. Now, I know that people see they see 23 followers, and they think, oh, that's not very much. This was 6 followers a couple days ago. You guys have done an amazing job of coming and subscribing and joining. And every one of you that joins, it's one step closer to fulfilling our goal. And what I want to say is this. When I first started uploading, I would get almost no views. 1, 0, 1, 1. That's, let's see. 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 2, 0, 0, 0, 1. My point here is that there were barely any views. Barely any views. But then you go to recently, and 6, 12, 6, 16, 4, 19, 33, 15, 13, 9, 16, 27, 10, 9, 6, 9, 14, 12, 23, 8, 4, 10, 123, 30. You guys are making a difference. You guys are growing this by leaps and bounds. And keep in mind, my follower count is 23. So the percentage, the ratio of views to subscribers is absolutely incredible. And as this grows, I'm hoping that the channel grows so that I can create an alternative here. And you guys are a part of that every step of the way. Doesn't cost a dime. And you can come over here and be part of Real Change, because I want to get this channel so big that Rumble can use it as an advertising tool to show that this is how organic growth can happen on our platform. And it will be the severing of the testicles of YouTube. I want to be there to look them in the eye and be like, it was me. Anyway, yeah, that was a long video. But I think this topic deserves it. I think that Asmongold's worldview in this was asinine. I don't hate Asmongold, by the way. I don't hate him. And in fact, actually, I didn't even get a chance to go into what I really wanted to go into, which was Blair White. You see, Asmongold says many times that conservatives, and I'll end with this. Asmongold says that conservatives and people hate transgenders. That's not true. What people hate is transgenderism, because transgenderism is a fucking cancer. Transgender individuals can be cool. Like, I've seen a lot of people, and they've replied to my own videos about Silvervale, saying, hey, I'm transgender, I love Silvervale. Individual trans people can be cool, but here's the thing. The right accepts Blair White. They refer to Blair White as she. They don't dead name her. They're not looking to go out there and make this person feel uncomfortable or feel bad or harass them, because she's cool. And what I mean by she's cool, I mean she does videos where she hangs out with, I don't know if this is real. The outline makes it look kind of fake, but no, I genuinely believe this is real. That Blair White has hung out with Joe Rogan and Alex Jones. Let's see if I can find Blair White on Twitter. What was the yeah? So Blair White hanging out with Alex Jones and Tim Pool. So Blair White is widely accepted, and the reason why is because Blair White isn't out there promoting the trans ideology. Blair White is not out there trying to target kids. Blair White is not out there telling people that they're patriarchal, misogynist bigots who, she's not acting like a mentally ill psychopath, which is typical of people on the left in the trans community. It's my opinion that every single person on the internet that is trans, that's part of the online trans activist community, they are incrementally the worst person you will ever meet. You start out with the starter kit of Brianna Wu, and you're like, wow, that person's the worst person I've ever seen. And then it elevates, and by the end of it, you get to Keffals, and you're like, holy shit, Brianna Wu looks like a saint by comparison. So this is like a chutes and ladders game, of just how absolutely inhuman and detestable can you be in the trans community. But Blair White is great. No one has an issue with Blair White. So I think Asmon is, again, wrong when he says that people hate trans people. No, people hate transgenderism. People don't hate Blair White. She is accepted by the right because she agrees with maybe 5 to 10% of what people on the right believe, or maybe it's more. But The point is, Blair White is the example of somebody who is referred to by their proper pronouns, is respected, is not bullied or harassed by the right. She's bullied and harassed by the left because she doesn't agree 100% with the leftist dogma and doctrine. And by the way, let me also mention that the biggest bullies of transgenders are transgenders. Do you remember, let me see, Dave Chappelle, Daphne.
When Sticks and Stones came out, a lot of people in the trans community were furious with me, and apparently they dragged me on Twitter. I don't give a fuck, because Twitter's not a real place. And the hardest thing for a person to do is go against their tribe if they disagree with their tribe. But Daphne did that for me. She wrote a tweet that was very beautiful. What she said was almost exactly what she said. She said, punching down on someone requires you to think less of them. And I know him, and he doesn't. He doesn't punch up. He doesn't punch down. He punches lines, and he's a master at his craft. That's what she said. Beautiful tweet, beautiful friend. It took a lot of heart to defend me like that. And when she did that, the trans community dragged that bitch all over Twitter. For days, they was going in on her, and she was holding her own because she's funny. But 6 days after that wonderful night I described to you, my friend Daphne killed herself. Oh, yeah. It's a true story. My heart was broken. Yeah, it wasn't the jokes. I don't know if it was them dragging her. I don't know what's going on in her life, but I bet dragging her didn't help. I was very angry at them. I was very angry at her.
So, yeah, that's hard to watch. It's hard to hear. But the trans community are the most vicious, toxic, irredeemable, detestable people who are part of the online sphere. Individual trans people can be very, very cool. As evidenced by the fact that look who it is. It's Blair White. The trans community is trying to cancel Dave Chappelle for jokes, but has nothing to say about his trans friend Daphne, who committed suicide after being dragged. So, Blair White is coming out in defense of Dave Chappelle and his friend. So, that's my point. That's why people accept Blair White. Not just because, she's saying things that agree with me. She has her own opinions that is different from the trans orthodoxy. And if it is that people are accepting her even because they agree with her, then how the hell can they be transphobic? The whole point of a phobia is that you have an irrational fear of somebody. So if you are transphobic, if you are phobic against trans people, then there would be no way that you would be able to accept Blair White knowing that she's trans. But people do, happily, gleefully accept her into the group. So, it's just asinine. It's more bullshit. I don't know if Asmund knows who Blair White is, but she is a very, 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 very popular, very prominent YouTuber with over 1 million subscribers. This is not some small channel. This is a huge influencer. And she's trans, and people know she's trans. So, I disagree with Asmund on nearly everything that he said in this video. And I think that it's wrong. But I wanted to get that last little bit in. And, we'll call it wraps for today. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.